So today I watched two very different Marlene Dietrich films. The first one was my first Sunday morning Western in like a year, although technically I started it almost at noon, so it was like not quite a Sunday morning Western, but semantics. This was 1952's Rancho Notorious, directed by Fritz Lang. It's one of several Technicolor Westerns that he made in his later career. I was not a fan of this film for the most part. It had a great cast, Dietrich and Arthur Kennedy and Mel Ferrer. And it had an interesting plot, but I didn't enjoy the Technicolor. It wasn't good Technicolor for me. It didn't enhance the plot. And there was this horrible, singing narrator, but the singing narrator didn't come in enough to make it work. Like, if the singing narrator had been a thing through the whole movie, I would have been like, okay. But it was just often enough to be annoying and not often enough to make it make sense. Singing narrators, I don't know. So the plot is that Arthur Kennedy's fiance is murdered in a hold up, and he tracks the bandits down to the point of the last guy, who is then injured, and in his last dying word says "chuck-a-luck." And so that's all Arthur Kennedy knows. That's all he can go by to try to find the rest of the guys who murdered his fiancée and stole her brooch. He tracks this to a woman known as Alter Keene, that is her name, played by the one, the only Marlene Dietrich. You get some background about who she was and how she started, and how she's now the proprietress of the Rancho Notorious, a place where bandits can come and hide out on the Mexican border for 10% of their loot. So he turns himself into seems to be a bandit in order to figure out who is really the person responsible for killing his fiancée. In doing so, he has to woo Marlena and become friends with Mel Ferrer, who is a bandit. Goes on and on and on. Marlena gets one really good song. Arthur Kennedy's always good. Mel Ferrer was looking a lot like Francho Tone in this movie, but it didn't really work for me. So I think this is actually on DVD from Warner Archive, though, so if you want to check it out for yourself, feel free. The next film I watched was an earlier film of hers, a very risque pre-code from 1933 called The Song of Songs. And with a title like that, if you know your Bible, it better be racy. So it's directed by Rouben Mamoulian, who did the best version of Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde. It's based on a German novel from 1908, also known as The Song of Songs. Dietrich plays Lily, a girl who is a German farm girl, the kind that wears 9 layers of petticoats. And there's some really good jokes about petticoats in some of these older movies. So her father dies, and she goes to live in Berlin with her aunt, who owns a bookstore. Across from the bookstore is an artist, sculptor, played by Brian Ahern. Brian Ahern? I don't know how to say his name. Who wants to sculpt her because she's so virginal. And at first she's a little uncomfortable, but then she's like, whatever. And so she lets him, sculpt her in the nude. And eventually, obviously, his desire for her, overcomes his artistic detachment, and they have an affair. But she starts talking about marriage, so he freaks the fuck out and leaves. And she, in a fit of rage, marries the Baron. And obviously the Baron's awful, because the Baron in these sort of stories is always awful. He's played by Lionel Atwell. Then her lover comes back, and there's lots of hoo-ha, because, who does she really love? Does love really exist? What does the statue represent? Is she ruined now? I don't know. Is she upset about her innocence? Is she upset that all these men put her on a pedestal? Who knows? All I know is it was a really hot statue and it had erect nipples. Because this is 1933. This is pre-code. It's a very sexy film. Marlene Dietrich really does a good job, I think, of playing the innocence of early Lily and the transformation from that innocent girl into this really embittered, love-worn woman at the end. I wish the ending were a little bit stronger in terms of the very last shot, because I was like, girl, you don't need any of these men. Just go off and, her name's Lily. She can go be Shanghai Lily, right? Right? Okay. So this was her first American film not directed by von Sternberg. And in this case, I think Mamoulian really knew how to use her, and she smolders as you expect her to and as you want her to. And she wears some beautiful costumes, and it's just a wonderfully made film. I wouldn't expect less from Mamoulian, though. He was one of the great early sound directors who still had that artistry of the late era of silent films in terms of fluid camera movements and luxe set design. So this was The Song of Songs, previously Rancho Notorious, both of which are going to expire on Watch TCM Wednesday. I think these were on Wednesday, so you've got a few more days to check them out. This was the first time TCM was able to air The Song of Songs. Universal owns it, so but it might also be on DVD. I'm not sure, but definitely check this film out if you like Marlena, if you like pre-code cinema. It's definitely the raciest statue I've ever seen. So if you're into that, check it out. And the Technicolor Western Rancho Notorious, I don't know. If you're a Fritz Lang completist, probably that's for you. So check these films out. And yeah.